It's about getting into schools and talking to young people because, you know, I know that people can change. And it's about talking to people and getting them to understand and perhaps step back from violence and prejudice and whatever. And we just need to work together and keep on the good fight there.
Absolutely. Hey there, guys. We are ecstatically happy to announce that we are associated with the Sophie Lancaster Foundation.
The times are changing, and with the unfortunate death of Sophie, those changes have made a massive impact for the future. If Sophie was with us still today, I can guarantee what you are doing will still be reaching so many lives of young teenagers, young adults, and those who wish to be as different as possible. So thank you very much.
To find out more about this incredible foundation and all the work they do, and more importantly, how you can help, head on over to www.sophielancasterfoundation.com.
Hi, Ethan Lawrence here, actor, large comedy actor, welcoming you to the Chronicles of Ethan Lawrence.
So, welcome to the 49th edition of the Chronicles of Podcast. I was going to wave for you this week, guys, but you know what? I think we've done enough waving. As you're about to hear, I think Jamie's done enough exercise for the rest of his life. So what we'll do this time instead is I'll give you a little, there you go, there's your wave. All right, that's it. That's what you're getting. Jamie, I believe these are the Chronicles of Ethan Lawrence, am I right?
They are definitely the Chronicles of Ethan Lawrence.
49th edition. Right, I think I'll cycle this time. Hit it! But I also cannot wait to give you this piece of resistance.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to the Chronicles of Ethan Lawrence. Ethan is a BBC actor as of right now. He has also starred in Bad Education with Jack Whitehall. He has also starred in Afterlife with Ricky Gervais and is currently doing CBBC's Horrible Histories, Jamie.
He is indeed. I love this interview so much. And what I love more than the interview is how this interview came about.
Yes. So a massive thank you. I think it's like Tom Selleck's Tash or something on Twitter for listening to the Tom Stade episode from Yonder and hitting up Ethan Lawrence and let him know to come and check out TCO Pod. So massive thank you to that person who recommended us. And he was like, yeah, I'm definitely down. So I jumped on that shit and got him. It's incredible to get to that point where listeners are recommending guests to come on your show. It's quite a feat. It's quite a monumental feeling.
Doesn't that just warm the cockles? It's beautiful. But to give a bit of context to that as well, Ethan basically put a tweet out going, I got a bit of spare time before I go filming. You got a podcast? I'll be on it.
Yeah.
Like, he wants to get as many of these done as possible. And here we are today, folks.
And as Jamie said, it's quite a doozy. It's quite good.
This guy is hilarious.
Yeah, he's done quite a bit, and he's just a genuinely wonderful, humble human being. And I definitely want to be friends with him for the rest of my life. Yes. And I think everybody else will too once you hear this piece of gloriousness is about to grace your ears.
It really is. And if you've never watched Afterlife and you've not watched Bad Education, go and watch them, because I've watched them both, and they're phenomenal. Go watch them now. Go.
And as Jamie said, and while you're doing that, I'll bring the guest in. Jamie!
Yes, sir.
Do you supposedly have any final words at all?
Just, Ethan, thank you so much, sir. You're so funny, so talented. I wish you all the best for your career because you're going to fly, sir. Phenomenal. Just thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Ethan, as I also second what Jamie said, it was great to have you on the show. We really, really loved it, and we'll have you back in the future. And if you really want some entertainment, guys, go and check out his Twitter. Ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, interviewing this week, it's Ethan Lawrence.
Hello.
Hello, Ethan Lawrence. It's in the building, motherfuckers. What's going on?
I'm in the building. I'm in a building. I'm not in the same building you're in.
Oh, damn it. That's what I was kind of hoping for. You know what? Okay, cool. Well, no, I'm joking. It's all good.
No, it's not even nearly as an impressive background as Chesney Hawkes had either, but I can only apologise for
that. That was his dad's shed, apparently. So,
this is you're literally looking at the border wall between the living area and the dining room. So the computer's in a little alcove. So you can enjoy that.
I love it. I like beige walls and a bit of brickwork.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is what I'm all about. This is what I'm pushing. This is why I'm on the pod. I'm all going to be here to talk about.
We don't care about your career, just those beige walls.
Beige walls. It's the way forward. It's a neutral colour, boys. But it still allows light into the room. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Makes the space bigger.
Welcome to the Chronicles of Decorating.
I mean, I was going to say I'm more about brickwork myself, but you've sold me on the walls now. You've sold me. I'm done. I think.
To be fair, you've got your lovely backdrops, and I can't say how pleased I was to see the Sophie Lancaster Foundation represented on the thing. I was like, wonderful, glorious.
Oh, mate, thank you. Yeah, well, they are very near and dear, as I'm sure they are to you as well. We spoke to Sylvia on our show last year.
Yeah, last year.
And we're literally like, we need to do some work for them.
Sure.
So raising money. We're almost at a grand already.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. For a small independent podcast, it's like, that's just mind blowing. Even a tenner is mind blowing. Do you know what I mean?
You got 100 times more than that.
Well, yeah, it's just insane. So I can see that we have Vanilla Ethan today. Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing Vanilla Ethan.
Okay, that's fine.
I decided not to. I mean, to be honest with you, if you gave me 2 minutes, I could go and dig through my dressing up box.
I did like Hollywood's 30s director, Ethan.
Yeah, see?
It's it's so great.
He's perfect.
That was
it's an easy accent to do as well.
I was just doing a bit of research on you earlier. I was like, I want to find some little personal tidbits. And then when I saw that, I was like, fucking hell, that's incredible. That's going straight in.
I'll be completely honest with you. I came up with that in about 5 minutes.
Really?
Just found every prop that I could think of. And I was like, right, how can I use a combination of these props to pad out what's going to be basically 3 characters? And so it's like, oh, right, what if I wore the Plague Doctor mask with the punk wig? There you go. That's 2 seconds of content.
It was so great. That needs to go viral. That needs to be shared everywhere. Everyone needs to check that out right now.
In fact, it is one of my worst performing videos of all time.
No, really?
It's not great. It's not great.
It's always the way. The ones you put the most effort into, you're like, oh, come on.
Actually, to be fair, it's gone up a bit. I've just looked at it now. It's gone up a little bit.
That's probably me.
Watching it over and over. I'm doing numbers, but it's the same guy.
Yeah. Does that count? Does that count, guys?
I don't know how any of it counts. I don't even know what counts as a view on TikTok, frankly.
No, I don't understand. We tried to use it. We were like, we'll just do some little plugs and see what happens. Nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I got lucky in the sense that I've been off the telly. So, like, within I think it was maybe 4 or 5 videos going up, like, it started to gain traction because it was like, it's the guy from Bad Education, it's the guy from Afterlife, and then it started to spiral and snowball from there.
Yeah.
You know what? We are now 81k strong.
Oh, yeah. We love it, and it'll just continue to rise, my friend. Especially now, Horrible Histories is on the scene. Oh yes.
I mean, it's. I won't lie. It's currently in free fall, but okay.
Should we get the show started?
Sorry, is this not the show? I caught my end game. Fuck. I'm already really tired.
It's like the unofficial show. We're like, this is the banter before, but we end up keeping it in because it's just so good.
Yeah, I think that bit was a good edit point. Then we put in the credits, and then so credits now.
Basically, what we do, we probably should get this started before we're running out of content before we even start. I do a little introduction to welcome you in, and then we bombard you with questions.
Great. I'll try and answer as many as I can, as honestly as I can.
Beautiful.
That is what we like. Right, let's get my intro out of the way. Ladies and gentlemen, today we bring you another glorious guest for you to enjoy. Today's guest is a terrific actor who has lent his talents to some of the best of modern British TV. A man who recently stole my heart, asking to be beaten up in a wrestling ring on social media. Ladies and gentlemen, a man who's gone by many names, including Recorder Kid. From Bad Education and the award-winning Afterlife, these are the Chronicles of Ethan Lawrence.
He has a name now.
I know, but I just Recorder Kid sounds so much funnier for an intro. Including James. Yes,
see, I would have gone with the character I played in The Rebel, Estate Agent Lee. One of my finest turns, I think you'll play.
That is phenomenal.
It was covered in BAFTA, but they didn't let me go.
Oh, why? You were pivotal in that.
I don't get invited to anything.
I would have fallen apart about Estate Agent Lee.
Estate Agent Lee. He was the daddy. He was the daddy of UK TV Gold. I'll tell you that.
So, Ethan, I suppose I should absolutely hit you with one of the hardest hitting questions probably ever asked in the interview history, which is, how was your pandemic season?
Okay, where do we start? Okay, so I think it's churlish of someone to say that, do you know what, on balance, it wasn't that bad. However, for the first 9 months, I was out of work. I was, the TV industry was not. So I was keeping myself afloat with voiceover and everything like that, just doing the best that I could. But to be honest with you, from December 2020 through to now, it has probably been the busiest, most lucrative and most productive years of my career I think I've ever had. Pandemic notwithstanding. So it's sort of, again, it sounds churlish, but to be honest with you, it's been fine. I got COVID over Christmas last year, which was horrible. But like I've had that now. I got through it. No one close to me died.
Good.
It was just sort of fine. Like, it sucked, but it's
yeah, it's weird because we get quite a mixed bag with this sort of thing. A lot of people we speak to go, it was great because I got to spend time with my wife, my kids. I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to do some gardening. I got to actually watch my own movies and watch movies myself and actually do this, that, and the other. And then the other half been like, well, it's fucking terrible shit. Absolutely shit. Like, this happened, that. So it's really weird, like how...
I think I land somewhere in the middle. Like, those first 9 months were really, really stressful. Because, I was thinking to myself, as it went back and back and back with people saying, this will all be over by May. This will all be over by August. This will all... And, the first thing I did in December, that had... an outbreak happened on set, which shut everything down for 2 weeks. And so it was sort of like, is this going to be how it is now? Like, is it going to be stop start all the time? But thankfully it's not been like that moving forward. And like I said, I consider myself remarkably lucky that I was able to sort of catch the upswing of TV and film starting to come back. And I was there, box fresh, ready to go. And I've just been riding that wave. It's all you can do. And that's it, really.
Perfect. No, long may it continue. Long may that wave keep going. Keep surfing that wave.
Thank you.
No, not at all. Not at all.
But a question I like to ask all of our guests, it feels slightly redundant with yourself as you're a child actor, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What did you want to be when you grew up?
Right, so I wanted to be an actor, but I need to I was 19 when I was in Bad Education. I was not a child.
Well, I suppose, yeah. Okay, yeah.
I was at university. I was drunk for most of it.
That's why they hired you, wasn't it?
That's it. Like, oh Christ, he's coming stinking of alcohol again.
Better just give him the role. Just give him
Put him in the role. Cupboard, it'll be fine.
Give Jack
he looks
the bottle
glazed
back
over
and go in
there. That's perfect for the character.
That's exactly what we're after.
But to your more substantive point. So I love telling this story. This is not the first time I've told this story, so this is not a scoop, but it is fun to say. It's it's a thing I like saying. So when I was a kid, I grew up with a mother who was a very proud reader. So I did a lot of reading. My reading comprehension was very good because I was always around books and being read to, reading when I could and everything like that. Still to this day, I love reading. So my reading comprehension was very good. And I decided when I started primary school, I was like, right, I went up to my mother and I said, right, I'm going to be an author. And she said, okay. Thing is though, it takes a little while for authors to get going. So you're probably going to need a backup plan in place just in case things don't work out. And, with youthful bravado, I was like, no, I won't. Anyway, I get to secondary school and I start studying drama on the curriculum. So I comes back home and I go, Mum, I have decided I no longer want to be an author. I want to be an actor. And she said, okay, so it's quite difficult to break into the acting industry. So you're probably going to want some kind of backup job to go along with that. But I proved all the haters and the doubters wrong by getting a role in Bad Education when I was at university and then coasting on that for 7 years until I had to stop because the work dried up and so I had to get a real job for a bit. So she was right, as she always is.
Well, she wasn't.
Well, I mean, I could say, as the sort of the weeks turned to the months, turned into what ended up being a full year out of acting work, there was a sort of thing in the back of my head was, well, I have been a professional actor, but no more. Now I am a professional pizza delivery man with intentions of becoming the local regional manager.
You did pizza delivery in the time when you weren't acting?
Yeah, so this was this would have been, let me think now, let's get the dates right in my head. So I did Afterlife Series 1 in the March/April of 2018. But as we alluded to earlier, I was simply Recorder Kid back then. I was just one scene, one and done. I think I was on set for all of about 90 minutes.
Oh, really?
And that was like my full work day. But then everything started to dry up. So in September, maybe beginning of October 2018, I took up pizza delivery because, still got to pay rent. I can't just coast on the no money that's coming in. So started doing that. And then, like I say, it was supposed to be like a stopgap until the next thing came along. I chose pizza delivery specifically because I thought to myself, well, I can work evenings and during the day, if there's auditions and stuff like that, I can still go out. Very, very smart. Eventually, I was taking every single shift that got sent and just being like, because there was just nothing was going on. It's a sort of a kind of, I guess it's a saying sort of, but they say that when you're hot in this industry, you're just turning down offers, but when you're cold, no one's interested. And it was just a run of bad form. It happens, but it was trying to make it, I was making it sound like it was some kind of traumatic experience. It wasn't. I enjoyed the work, and I'm certainly not too proud to go, oh, but I shouldn't be doing this. It was more in my head okay, well, I've had my fun. I guess this is it now. Until Afterlife Series 2 came along, and Ricky Gervais threw down a life ring and pulled me up, and then we did Afterlife Series 2 in the autumn of 2019, which ended up meant I could pack in the pizza delivery, and I was like, great, now we've got my momentum back on track. And then March 2020 happened, but we've been over that.
But I love the fact you didn't give up, though. Okay, you're doing that in the F, but you're like, no, I'm still going to go to auditions. I'm still going to keep trying. I'm not going to give up. This is my dream. I'm going to fucking do it.
Well, it's I don't think of it in terms of sort of like a manifest destiny. It's more in the case that I genuinely don't know what else I have skill wise. I the whole of my teenage years was learning how to act and how to be on stage. I was doing, not through maybe educational ways, but through doing amateur musical theatre or plays, local drama groups and stuff like that. It was all experience led and everything on the ground. But it was to the detriment of sort of everything else. I was a good student. I was able to, get good grades and everything like that. But in terms of sort of actual practical skills, I don't really have any outside of performing and creating. And, I've been at this 10 years now. I don't really know what else I've got to offer the labour market apart from being a sort of clown prince
and picking a dashing shade of beige.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe there's life in my work as an interior decorator. Beige, put the table there. That'll be £5,000.
Oh no, you painted it yourself. I just picked it for you.
Yeah, I need money for material and costs also.
Yeah, for everything.
Why am I still an actor? I'll just get into that.
Yeah, come on.
Sounds easy.
What's going on?
All right, fine. You've convinced me.
Yeah, I was going to say, who needs Afterlife? Who needs managing? Who needs any of that stuff? Decorating, you know?
To be fair, it could still get me on TV. It's not like there isn't interior decorating programs.
Oh, my days.
There's a glut of them. I could slip in I'd fit right in.
Yeah, beautiful, done. Let's get Nick Knowles on the phone.
I was going to say, we've got the new Lawrence Llewellyn Bowen right here. Let's go.
DIY they're being in the school. It's like, oh, we need a decorator. Who can we call?
Beige.
Oh, yeah.
Make it beige.
Let's get Beige Lawrence in. Come on, let's get it.
Oh, it's the Beige Meister.
Yeah, I can see that they probably set it up properly as well. They go, right, Ethan, so what you thinking? Beige, mate, that's all you need.
So and I can get the paint at cost. I know a guy.
You want some brickwork in there too?
Might as well. You know, since you got me, I'm here.
Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So when you go out doing all your acting, musical theatre, etc., did anybody really influence you into the world of acting, or was it just because of your upbringing with your mum being a massive reader?
So the bug was organic, like, you know, that came from studying it when I realised that A, it was a lot of fun, and B, I kind of had a bit of an aptitude for it. I hope that doesn't sound arrogant. It's just, again, it's one of those things where, like, it's taken me a long time to get to a point with sort of like my mental health and perception of myself where I can say, do you know what? I'm a really fucking good actor.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's, you know, I don't like to see it as arrogant. It's just like, this is what I do. But, you know, I had an aptitude for it early doors. So I was like, right, well, you know, I need to sort of continue this. But like in terms of sort of like inspirations and sort of people I'd like to model myself after to a certain extent, as well as being a voracious reader, my mother also was very good at introducing me to decent comedy early doors. And I'm talking specifically about the young ones.
Yes.
Rick Mail is a huge influence on me. And in addition to that, I was introduced to Black Books with Dylan Moran, Bill Bailey. Like, you know, I'm surprised the DVDs that I have of those series still work, to be honest with you, because I watched the shit out of them. Like, just,
it's great.
Like, I'm surprised I haven't just like compressed into coal or something. But like, you know, that really, that was sort of the big thing. Like, I had good comedy influences early, which sort of, you know, set me up to not only be, you know, a comedy man myself, but also kind of a scholar of comedy. Like, you know, I love to watch comedy. I love watching, you know, stuff from all different eras, you know, from Monty Python onwards. But then even then there's stuff like Max Miller, like that's like recordings of and things like that. And you can see sort of in those early days, sort of the genesis of what would have become like modern day stand-up. I find all that sort of stuff fascinating. You know, I even wrote an essay on it in university. Like,
oh, really?
Wow. Yeah, it was part of the drama and creative writing unit. I was just sort of like, well, you know, I know about comedy. Let's write about comedians. And it's, you know, it worked 2-1. So
perfect.
The most expensive piece of paper I own.
But do you find comedy this day and age, though, it's a lot difficult now to say, because you can't say certain things anymore, you can't do certain things anymore, because obviously the world is a very different place now?
Well, I think people who complain about the idea that you can't do this or can't say this are showing a dearth of imagination, because it's like you can do whatever you want as long as it's good.
Yeah,
like people will forgive a lot of stuff if it's actually genuinely funny. Like, I've never understood this argument. I mean, for example, take Afterlife. You know, I've had people, literally, I had someone say this to me, and it took everything in my power not to sort of go, you're insane. What you just said is insane. They said to me, you couldn't make something like Afterlife today. And I was like, We made it in 2021. What are you talking about? Are you insane? Like, I don't know, but that's the thing. Like, you know, I think ultimately funny will out. And the ones that get left by the wayside are the ones that weren't particularly funny to begin with. Like, you know, for example, like, take for example, because this has been in the news, right? This has been, you know, what's talked about. We talk about transphobic material.
Yeah.
And I think part of the reason why, you know, people get so up in arms about it, certainly from a comedic perspective, is that it rarely evolves beyond I identify as an attack helicopter. And like that's the gag. And it's like, okay, well, we've heard that. That's the first dimension. Is there a second dimension? A third? Dare we dream a third dimension? And no, it's not. It's flat and boring. And if it's flat and boring, it's difficult to then justify it as not just flagrant bigotry because you put no effort in. You know, you can literally joke about anything. That is my personal belief. But the joke has to be good. It has to work on its own terms. And like, you know, maybe if you reflect on who you are as a person, do you have anything of note interesting to say about a particular subject? You know, like, for example, I wouldn't write jokes about race simply because I know from my perspective as a white man, I don't really have anything to say. Like nothing that would be particularly funny at the very least. You know, I'll leave that to people who have lived experience in it. So yeah, I don't know. It's sort of I do struggle with the idea of there being cancel culture. I personally don't buy it. But you know, there's scholarly articles who know about this. I'm not the one to be going, well, here's what I think. I just know from my particular corner of the world that, you know, I've worked in comedy that has sometimes been quite close to the bone and quite transgressive, and people seem to like it.
Yeah, it's the ones that go to the comedy shows and then go, well, I was offended by that. It's like, but you went to a comedy show, so you kind of got to expect that in a way. You can't just go.
I mean, to a degree. I mean, like, so recently on Britain's Got Talent, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not one to slag off other people, right? I'm not into that. But it don't half get on my tits when Amanda Holden goes on about what she reckons comedy is. It's like, oh, comedy should always be pushing the boundaries. Oh, yeah, that's why Peter Kay has 4 houses. No, it doesn't. And like, that's not to say that Peter Kay's comedy is bad. It isn't. It's brilliant. But it's not transgressive. Like, you know, it's not pushing a boundary. It's funny because it's nostalgic. It's funny because it's comfortable. And it's funny because it doesn't spook the horses. You can have all different types of comedy. It doesn't have to do anything outside of making people laugh.
That is the sole aim of comedy, to make people laugh. That is it.
Yeah, and like, you can add things onto it if you're trying to explore comedy as an art form, for sure, but it's not necessary, I suppose, is the argument that I'm making. You know, it can be whatever you want it to be. Like, you know, it can be a knock-knock joke. That's transgressive, isn't it? My God. Remember those old children's joke books you used to get? I bet Amanda Holden hates those because they're not pushing the boundary enough. Doctor, I feel like a pair of curtains. Pull yourself together, man. Boo, says Amanda Holden. Boo. Why? Sure, she's lovely, but she just doesn't know about comedy, right?
It's basically what the bottom line is right there.
No problem with Amanda Holden. I just don't like people who don't know what they're talking about pontificating on things.
Yeah, it's
the same reason why I wouldn't make jokes about things that I don't have enough cultural understanding about. I know my limits, you know. I think that's one of the biggest problems we have in this society. People don't know stuff but like to be loud about it.
Yeah,
exactly that.
Social media gave them that platform, didn't they, to do so? Everyone has got an opinion on everything now.
Everyone is loudly wrong all the time.
Now it's going to ban every 90s comedy sitcom that ever existed.
Yeah, keep that up. Why not?
Yeah. You know, we'll start on films after.
But I mean, not to peek behind the curtain too much for the people listening and watching at home, but yeah, we're doing this on a day where the Conservative government is literally falling apart at the seams.
I mean,
and like, you know, we talk about sort of living in a kind of a post-truth, not understanding stuff era. And I'd like to think that this is sort of the last dying gasp of these twats. Who are sort of elevated to positions that they don't deserve to be in because they don't know what they're talking about. But I don't know. I'm on a rant now. I'm all fired up. I'm sweating.
Yeah, I noticed your Twitter earlier. It was just like going out. It's just like 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes. I could just go in and I was like, God, son,
this was
go
the
for it.
problem with watching PMQs today. I was like, these insane people. What is wrong with them? Like, the government's literally on fire, and there's a Tory backbencher going, don't you think it's great to be in Worthing? I don't know or care. I've never been to Worthing.
Where even is it?
I was about to say, I don't even know where that is.
Is it near Reading? I don't know.
For some reason, I thought it was South Coast for some reason, by Brighton. I don't know.
It might be. I don't know.
I'm a Brummie, I know Birmingham, and that's it.
You've never been outside.
they don't let me out.
Oh.
I get uncomfortable if the ball ring isn't in sight, you know. If I can't see that statue, I'm having a bad day.
Where are you, Bronze Bull? I need you.
Do you suck life from it? Is that how it works in Birmingham?
That's how it is.
Draws essence out of the ball.
We all walk past it and just breathe it in.
Yeah.
It's like Westfield, Stratford for Londoners. Everyone has to make the pilgrimage once, and then they're like, "Wow, that was terrible. Let's never go back there."
But I'm now an official Londoner now. I've done it. I've done it.
I've been past the Olympic Stadium, son. Hammers.
Oh, fucking hell. Right. So,
that's a new one.
It's like from a podcast host with someone else. Oh, fucking hell.
I've shot my head back and cracked my neck.
Why? Don't you do that?
I've reacted and laughed and cracked my neck. I was like, fuck, ow.
Right, I've taken on some liquid now. I'm ready.
Oh,
good. You've realigned your spine there, Jay.
Apparently so, yeah. Good to go. Anyway.
Well, this is the first time I've been on a podcast where I've physically damaged the hosts despite not being in the same room as them.
We should probably get back on track. I was going to say, you got your break in, obviously, in Jack Whitehall's Bad Education. How did you end up getting this role? Because it was your first ever TV role, is that right?
Yeah.
So
it was my first ever sort of professional anything.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I've spoken about this on my TikTok and other places, so I won't. I'll do short story long. No, other way around. What am I talking about?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. I'm already rambling. This is going really well. I was like, I'm going to truncate this, and now I'm wasting even more time. I think we're up to about. Yeah, I think I've wasted possibly 30 seconds of time talking about how I'm going to answer this question. Right, so we'll start now. Here we go. One time, no thought. So this amateur musical theatre group that I was with, they set up kind of, I guess you call it like a kind of cottage agency, where the ultimate goal was, to get like people working professionally in the industry, but most importantly, the casting website Spotlight, at least back then, it's probably changed now, but back then you needed either professional credits or professional representation to get yourself on there. And it's one of those awful things about the acting industry where it's sort of like a kind of spiral of, like, it's a snake eating its own tail of people not being able to get in, because to get on Spotlight, in order to get you work, you need to have already worked or be represented, and you can't be represented if you've got no work to show for yourself, and you also can't work if you're not represented. The industry sucks.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
It's an absolutely ass backward way of doing it. But I was one of those ones lucky enough to sneak through the cracks, because, as I say, it might be different now. This was 10 years ago, so the policy may have changed. But back then, like, being represented was enough. And so being represented by the small cottage agency, I was able to get on there. Now, the agency actually folded before I went to university, but I'd already paid for my year of Spotlight. So that was ongoing. Then we cut to Tiger Aspect, the production company behind Bad Education. About 3 or 4 months away from filming, they still didn't have a Joe. And so they had like open casting cattle calls just for anyone. And so I got the call to go in because they suited what I was looking for. And I was thinking to myself, all right, sure, fine. And so, I went in, not really expecting anything of much. I look back on this now, how utterly unprofessional this was, but I was going through my grungy university phase. So I came in, massive beard, hair down here, big coat, yeah, what? Yeah, I'll be in your show. Yeah. But I did the audition, did the recall, and got it, nailed it. And then a couple of weeks later, I was on my first professional TV shoot, wondering what the hell happened. sort of kind of that fast. But then that happened. We got this, but when the second episode came out, we got recommissioned for a second series. And so it was like, oh, okay. My agency back then was still representing me. I was basically their only client at this point because, like I said, they'd folded, but like there was an active client on the books. And then I think it might have been at the wrap party actually of Bad Education Series 2. One of the people there said they knew a guy who used to be a PA for an agent, and they might be able to get me in touch, and they did. And that man's name was Michael Ford, who was with DAA at the time, which is Debbie Allen Associates, now no longer, now called Hatch. But I met up with him, and we had a chat, and then he agreed to represent me, and that will be 9 years ago in August, I think. And so that was, then, my former amateur musical theatre crew could now concentrate on doing that instead of dealing with legal and payment and everything that goes on, stuff like that. Like, oh Christ, another set of cans has come in, Jesus. So I've got someone who's like, literal job it is to do that. And I've been very lucky in a way, because I mean, like, I can't think of many scenarios where like someone's still with the agent that they started with. But I'm very fortunate in that regard. Michael's always been very good to me. Hatch has always been very good to me. Happy with where I am with that. But yeah, that's essentially short story, very long. I was very, very lucky and fell into it ass backwards.
What was it like being your first set though? I bet it's like this, like, Mum, I've done it. I've done it.
Combination of really, really excited and absolutely terrified.
I could imagine.
So I'd never worked with camera before. All of my experience was on stage, and it sounds stupid when you say it out loud, but like the two disciplines are radically different, because like on stage, obviously everything you do is calculated so it can be seen from every seat in the house. Whereas with the camera, you don't need to do that. Everything could be smaller. And it took me a while. I mean, I look back at some of the scenes in series 1 of Bad Education and I cringe, because I look at it and I'm seeing a theatre actor having to learn in real time how to act the camera. But then the irony is now is that I've been doing TV for so long and I've done so little theatre that if I was to go back to doing theatre, I'd probably be doing everything really nuanced and small. Yeah. And like, people in the 6th row are going to be like, what? Speak up. You're not on TV anymore, kid.
So it must have been mental then when it got commissioned for a movie. So you've gone from TV to a film, obviously, but still with the same cast. So like, what? That's obviously two very different beasts.
To a degree. I mean, it in terms of sort of like the actual thing of it, like, we've done 3 series and we're going to a film. That was wild. But we also had the same director for the film as we had for series 2, Elliot Hegarty, nice. Lovely man. And to be honest, it was shot a lot like how the TV show was shot.
Oh, no.
Because don't fix what ain't broke, right? Like, we had a system and it was working. And, we did the film, and the only real significant difference between it and the TV show was the fact that we were in Cornwall.
Oh, okay.
And like, there was a little bit more money about. So like we could do some more mad shit. I mean, for me, it was the location of my first fire stunt, which I will always remember. And you two are looking at me as if you've
I've seen the film. I'm trying to remember that bit.
My arm gets set on fire after getting doused with alcohol and punched into Ian Glenn's cigar.
Yes, I remember that. Yes. It's been a while since I've seen that film, but yeah.
Yeah, so that was my first fire stunt. Where I can, I like to do my own stunts. Sometimes that's obviously impossible because I'm an overweight, unhealthy man clattering towards his 30s. So obviously I can't be doing like backflips off a climbing wall anymore. Oh. Not that I ever could. But
I was about to say, could you ever?
Nor have I ever played a character that would either. But so sometimes it's obviously impossible. But like where I can, I'm fascinated by stuff like that, and like the actual mechanics of putting a stunt together. I mean, to be honest with you, that's broadly true of the whole sort of film set mentality. Especially in the early days, I'd be going around like badgering all the different departments and units, like asking what they do and what's being done here. and like just learning and sort of drawing in information, because I found the whole thing absolutely fascinating. Still do. Like, you know, when something happens on the film set that I haven't seen before, I'm like, ooh, so that's how they do that. Forgetting that, like, you know, I'm there. I'm not watching like a BTS or anything like that. I'm like, oh.
You can't help it though. You love it. It's why you dedicated your life to it. You see something you've never seen before, you're like, ooh.
Well, that's it. Like, there was a film I did, How to Talk to Girls at Parties, which was the first time I'd seen a camera on a 30-meter crane.
Wow.
And I was like, hell yeah. That's fantastic. Look at that. And so we could get this huge sweeping shot of me and the boys walking down a street in Sheffield, because fun fact, Sheffield in 2015 looks identical to Croydon in the 1970s, apparently. I mean, I don't know about location scouting, but apparently that's what they decided. They were like, yeah, this looks like the 70s in Croydon.
Did they watch This Is England? Because that's set there, isn't it? In like 86 and 90, I went, perfect, we'll have it as well.
We'll do it.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Sheffield, the city of the past.
It did half make me laugh that most of the externals for that film were shot in Sheffield when it was all supposed to be in Croydon.
You find that a lot with film and TV, though. Nothing is ever filmed where it's set.
Oh, no. I mean, like, take a perfect example of that for me is Bad Education Series 2, Episode 1, the swimming gala, where the exterior of the swimming gala was this leisure centre in Dagenham. The changing rooms, I think were a set in a studio, and the pool was in Hammersmith. So you had this sort of bizarre situation where we'd walk into a building in Dagenham, teleport to Wimbledon Studios, and then teleport to Hammersmith. Which is... But of course, when you watch it, you can't see the joint. This is why location scouts are in work. They know what they're doing. Like,
they didn't think they'd just find this one leisure centre that had everything they needed, no?
But a lot of it does come down to logistics and availability. Because, like, you know, especially if you're going to a location, you have to clear it with everyone there, and then there's legal, and then there's money, and blah, 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 blah. So by and large, even though it sounds kind of clunky and disorganized and uncoordinated, there's reasons for it, usually financial, I would bet.
Yeah, probably financial, yeah. So I know you've probably been asked this a billion times when it comes to Joe, but I want to know the answer to this. The bowl cut, was it real or fake?
Real.
Oh, you absolute hero.
I mean, you say hero. Yeah. I'd use the word martyr, personally.
How long did you have to keep that haircut?
7 weeks.
So, oh God, you said that like a man that's had Vietnam flashbacks.
I was at university at the time. Year 2.
Oh no.
That was a good 2 months.
No.
Still, things improved when they shaved it all off, I guess.
Oh, yeah. Very true, very true. Do you still like see and speak to any of your classmates from a
rarely, if ever? I speak to Jack Binstead, who played Remdog, fairly regularly. We commenting on each other's TikToks and everything like that. But I think one of the things that people forget is that, like, the last time we were all actively working together was in 2015, which is, you know, it's a long time ago. Like, you know, it's
absolutely,
you naturally drift apart, even though, you know, working together for that length of time is so intense. Like, you know, you do sort of naturally move away. And, like, to be fair, I mean, all of us are sort of following our own paths now. Like, you know, some of us aren't in acting anymore. Some are in hella acting, like your man Charlie Wernham, EastEnders man, former Hollyoaks dude. And I mean, to be honest with you, I think I'd make the argument. I don't think there'd be many who disagree with me that the major beneficiary from Bad Education would be Leighton Williams, who played Stephen, who's now West End star, bloody going over to LA and being in shows and sort of like all kinds of mad stuff like that. He's done extraordinarily well, and I couldn't be more proud of him.
Fair play.
I love to see that. I love to see that as well. That, you know, you're proud of your people that you work with and whatnot.
Oh, for sure.
Like,
I mean,
yeah, it's huge.
It's one of those things where, you know, we were a small nucleus of young talent who were sort of all drawn together into this thing. Some had been in the industry for a little while. Some were just starting out. But, like, you know, here we are sort of 10 years on from that initial part. And, like, you know, we're all sort of living our lives, living our best lives, as they say.
Yeah.
And it's just good to see that people are still doing well. Like, you know, even if they aren't in acting anymore, like, you know, they've found fulfillment elsewhere. And, you know, that's great.
It kind of blew my mind a bit when you said 2015 is so long ago now. Like, oh God.
That's the thing. I think because of its availability on Netflix, you sort of think to yourself that, they might have made that recently. Like, you know, shows have more staying power than they used to back in the day, when like the only time you'd be able to watch it was if there was a repeat or if there was a VHS.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's sort of readily available. So it sort of feels like it didn't really go anywhere, if that makes sense. When in reality, like for me, like, you know, I tend to watch things when they come out and then never again. And so like, I haven't seen any bad education related content in 7 years.
Oh, wow.
So for me, it's like, you know, it's ancient history. Like, you know, it was so long ago and I've done so much since then that it's always kind of jarring when people are like, oh, I was watching Bad Education last night. And I was like, really? Why? Do you not know that Sherwood is available? That's recent.
Fucking hell.
I love it. Oh, so obviously after Bad Education, you kept yourself busy with roles in like Doc Martin, Modern Horror Stories, etc. Some of those projects, like when skimming through your IMDb, looked really fun. But from what I could tell, are there any particular standout moments or projects from that time?
How to Talk to Girls at Parties was a really big one for me. That was my first sort of exposure to working on a film with like American money backing it. And it was so different from everything else I'd ever done. Because I mean, I'd done 2 films by that point, but both of them were BBC backed. So they were sort of shot kind of a bit like TV shows. Whereas like, you know, with How to Talk to Girls, it being not only based on a Neil Gaiman short story, so you know it's going places, but also directed by John Cameron Mitchell, who's like such a visually interesting director. And the way it looked and the way it sounded and the way it was to act, it was great. Like it was a really eye-opening experience, sort of seeing how it works when you're making a film, as it were, as opposed to not to say that Up All Night or Bad Education were lesser, just that they were different because they were drawn from TV. But, you know, when something is built from conception to be, you know, a cinematic piece, it's a very different experience. I wish that film had done better than it did. If I have a big regret in my career, it's that didn't take off the way I felt like it should have done. Not so much for me, but for the film itself. I really, really believed in that project. And but you know, sometimes things happen and it just doesn't hit with the audience at the right time, and it falls by the wayside, which is a shame. And it's sort of, I mean, with the caliber of people in it, not including myself in that, but like, you know, we had Nicole Kidman, we had Elle Fanning, we had Matt Lucas, we had Ruth Wilson. Like, you know, these were big hitters, like any one of which could open a film basically on their own. But due to circumstances that you just can't control, it just didn't hit. It didn't catch fire like we were hoping. But yeah, I will never forget that 5 weeks that we spent, some in Sheffield, standing in for 1970s Croydon, and some locations in London, standing in for the inside of places in 1970s Croydon. We did, there was a whole sequence in the, minor spoilers, if you haven't seen How to Talk to Girls at Parties, they find aliens in a house, right? And the alien house was this, I think it was a former asylum in Richmond, sort of like this kind of really spooky sort of country pile, sort of in what would have been like, you know, proper like fields of London back in the day, but now sort of been swallowed by the miasma of the city. And it was really like curious and odd and really creepy, especially when they decked it out with all the alien stuff on the inside. You're just sort of walking around it, and like one of the earliest things that we shot was us coming into this building and sort of seeing it on the inside for the first time. And I hadn't before. And so like I didn't really need to act that much when I come in and see all this mad shit going on. I'm just like, oh, sorry for the acting. For those of you watching, that was some acting I did there. That's my surprise acting. It's one of the many different types of acting I know.
Oh, so in 2018, as we alluded to earlier, you were offered the role of Recorder Kid in Afterlife. So how did that role come about then?
Same way that any role comes around. Audition.
Just audition.
I think I had to drive to that one though. Normally I take the train into London, but I think it was on the other side of London, so it was just easier just to bomb around the M25. But yeah, it was with Tracy Gillan, casting director, who, I mean, I would argue has done more for my career than any individual person. Like, she's been the casting director, and I think at least half of all the things that I've done over the years.
Oh, wow.
And like, you know, we've spoken, and it's good to have good relationships with casting directors, because like, you know, when they're given the brief, they've got to be like, right, well, who's going to be good for that? And like, you know, I think I mentioned earlier that I'm sort of kind of comedy mercenary. And so, like, you know, but like if they need someone who's like, you know, safe pair of hands, who they know that work their way around a joke, they can send me in knowing full well that they'll get a good audition tape at least. And even if they don't, like, you know, it's fine. It will all be good. But yeah, this was literally just one of those. It was like, Ricky Gervais got a new project starting up. Are you interested in this sort of minor role? And I was like, well, yeah, of course, I'm going to turn that down. I am. I'm stupid. So I went around, did the thing. I mean, it was just sort of do that. All right, bye. 90-minute drive home. Got caught in traffic. It was dreadful.
Fuck's sake.
M25 at Rush. That's not the way. But yeah, then call came back. Yep, they want you. Be here at this time. Turned up, did the thing, went home. Thought nothing of it really. I was just sort of like, oh right, well that's that then.
Was the brief literally, can you play 2 recorders through your nostrils?
That wasn't even necessary for the role. I mean, I did learn how to do it, but that's by the by. Well, only because I wanted it to look real.
The fact that you actually went full pelt and actually learned how to play 2 recorders through your nostrils is incredible.
It took me half an hour. It's not hard.
Is it really not?
In fairness, to sort of defend myself a bit here, I do have grade 2 clarinet, so I do know about.
It's just showing off now.
I know about embouchure and
that's amazing.
Control.
Oh,
okay. I knew how to get that the air coming out of my nose in a consistent pattern. So then all it was then was learning the finger placement for London's Burning, because you just know if I hadn't done that and was sort of moving my fingers at random, there'd be some twat on Reddit or something.
Oh yeah,
being like, I don't think he was playing that actually. Oh, you think? Yeah, it was pre-recorded, obviously, because we're trying to record for sound here. Are you insane? Oh my god! But I've started to calm down with those people a lot more. So I sort of think to myself, there's always going to be something.
What
I've seen how hard people work in continuity to make sure everything's just so, and it is so rare when something slips through the cracks. And then there's these chuckle fucks, like going like, oh, well, actually, I think you'll find that when he was wearing the hat in the previous scene, the peak was going to the right, and it's on the left, and it really ruined my sense of immersion. Oh, did it? If you were looking for that, you weren't watching the film anyway.
Oh, fucking hell. Oh.
I noticed that when he had a glass of water and the level kept changing, kept going up and down. Oh, did it? Yeah. Might be because we had to do the take multiple times to make sure that it was right and correct. Oh, get a hobby. I realize I'm coming across like a kind of sort of aggressive...
Yeah.
But in the best way.
Fucking hell.
Here's because I had some bad news before I came on the podcast. My local butcher's is closing.
No!
And, we supported it throughout the pandemic, and it's unfortunately time up. And I found that out about half an hour before going to do this record, and I was genuinely devastated.
Oh,
and I was like, I've come in here with a fire and a passion that I wouldn't normally inflict on some strangers that I've never met. But I'm now just doing impressions of some straw man that I've invented on Reddit, being this little nerd watching after.
I love it because that's what people do, though. I don't get it. Like, I didn't think it's going to get noticed in some way, or like, I don't understand keyboard warriors. I don't get them. I don't. What is your purpose? Like,
and this is to a lesser degree. That I'm in this case, I think I'm perhaps being a bit unfair. But like, for example, when I started up my TikTok and sort of opened up sort of to Q&A, one of the questions that I got quite a few times was, in the series, Joe's mum is played by a different person than in the movie. What's all that about? And I'm like, I don't know. It was a production decision that was made way above my head and way above my pay grade. And to be honest with you, I think you'll probably enjoy the film more if you don't think about it.
It reminds me of those people that were like, well, why is Mel Smith playing the genie in Aladdin? Well, let me sit you down for a second and let's have a little chat, shall we?
Now, I'm not sure if you know what happened within the last 10 years.
Yeah.
But there was a tragedy.
A massive tragedy, and unfortunately we can't resurrect the dead. So
I mean, the less said about whether we really needed a live action remake of Aladdin is maybe they did, maybe people were clamoring for it. I don't know if I wasn't for it.
No, Jafar was way too young to begin with.
I don't know. It made money, so that's it at the end of the day.
No, yeah.
But they're definitely Robin Williams is a hero, a legend, an icon, and he always will be an absolute hero. I thought it took quite big cojones of Will Smith to have the courage to step into that role. Oh yeah,
I'll give him credit.
I can't imagine it was an easy decision.
No,
because you figure to yourself, I'm sort of treading on the Mona Lisa here a bit.
Yeah,
because let's be honest, if you say name me a role by Robin Williams, it's going to be in the top 5. Someone's going to mention is the Genie.
Top 5 for sure. Top 1 maybe not, but top 5 definitely.
But yeah, easily, and it's not even his bloody face; it's just his voice.
Yeah. Oh, well, he's had such a great voice, didn't he?
He really did.
I have on DVD. I have a stand-up show that he did in 2004, and it's a good show. Isn't it? That's all I really have on that. It's a good show.
His stand-up, mate. What I've seen of his stand-up is hilarious.
I love his style because it's the kind of slap shot nature of it, in that I can say 3 things in 10 seconds and there's a good chance that one of them will be funny. And that's good enough to get me onto the next 10 seconds. If it's just as long as you're quick enough. To be honest with you, I found that back in the old days of yore when I used to do stand-up. I realised now that must have been a kind of sort of subconscious influence, because I also like going fast and saying things really quickly, and part of the joke is that I've got these really complicated and textured paragraphs that I'm rattling through at 100 miles an hour. And I'm thinking to myself, that's got Williams on it, hasn't it? That's a Williams maneuver.
The Williams maneuver.
I was literally going to ask you about that actually before we get back to Afterlife. Was that you did? I saw that you did do stand up before. Why did you stop?
Combination of things. Number one, I was at a level at stand-up where I was making considerably less money than I was earning. Losing. I worded that weirdly. Cut that out. In fact, cut all of this. Let's start again. No, but basically I was spending more money traveling to gigs than I was earning while I was there. So it wasn't really financially viable. I'd been falling out of love with it for quite a while, partly because of the financial thing, partly because I felt like I wasn't making any progress, partly because I found the act of actually writing new stand-up like pulling teeth. But then ultimately, the decision was basically made for me by going into pizza delivery.
Oh, okay.
Because I was working there. It makes it sound like that was the thing that did it, but I was on the way out anyway. But that kind of sort of cemented it, where I was like, well, I'm not going to be able to do it for as long as I'm here anyway, so I might as well quit. I've not really felt any compunction to go back. Pandemic notwithstanding, it's just not something that interests me anymore.
Okay, no, that's fair enough.
I still like watching stand-up. I still, absolutely adore stand-up as an art form. I just realised that I'm not. It's sort of going back to what we were talking about earlier. I don't think I've got anything to contribute. Okay. So I'd be best to sort of just leave it alone and get on with what I am good at, which is acting.
Yeah, no, fair enough, yeah.
So that's probably the most serious answer I've given to any of your questions.
So obviously,
really sober and financials, overheads.
So obviously, as we said, you went from a bit part in series 1, being Recorder Kid, to then being like one of the main characters in the show with a name and everything. How Yes, James. How did that happen? Was that the plan all along, or was that just happened?
Well, I was completely out of the loop. I was doing pizza delivery. I didn't know anything was going on. All I know is I get the call, and they're like, I get the call from my agent who had been talking to Tracy, who'd been talking to Ricky, and they were like, yeah, they want you to come back, and they want you to do all 6 eps. And I was like, oh, okay, right, great. Why? But like, no answer was forthcoming. I mean, you can build your castles in your head, and I like to think that I did a good enough job during that first series for them to think, oh, this has got legs, this will be funny. You sort of have to believe that, because you got to back yourself somehow. And to a certain degree it must be true, because it's Ricky's baby. If he wouldn't put a deliberately bad actor in it just for that wouldn't work. But it's a story that he wanted to tell, I guess. But to answer another question, sort of in your point, which is that you got to remember that when that first series went out, there was no guarantee of a second series.
No, this is very true.
Especially with Netflix being how it is, where it doesn't take much for a show to abruptly come to an end. So there's never any guarantees of this. I mean, even if you are Ricky Gervais, there's never any sort of guarantee. But the first series did well enough for Netflix to spend a considerable amount of money to keep him as in-house talent. And fair play to them, because it's certainly not doing no one anything bad. Ricky's got an earner that he can keep going and keep creating. He's got an outlet to keep creating. Netflix keep producing record-breaking content with his stand-up shows and his sitcoms, which I was lucky enough to be a part of. So everyone wins, I guess.
Absolutely.
And I mean, certainly it was a big win for me. Thinking to myself, well, I might as well start working really hard to become the manager of this store and then the regional manager, because I think I may be here for a while. But I was lucky enough to get out, and then here we are. As I say, I've had a crazy year and a half so far.
Sorry, Mr. Great. Pizza Delivery Man. Ricky Gervais needs me. I'm off.
Bye. Yes, I'll do my 2 weeks. Yes.
I'll tell Ricky he has to wait. I read somewhere online the other day, it really made me chuckle. There was a rumour going around that your character was actually based and named after James Corden. Obviously, Ricky's denied this, but have you seen that theory?
I've seen the theory, yeah. And people believe what they want. I mean, it certainly wasn't something intentional that I was putting into the character. And if Ricky said it wasn't, then it wasn't. And we have no reason not to trust him.
I can kind of see why people would think it, in a way. I'm not going to lie.
But I mean, people, the amount of times I get, oh, you look like James Corden. I'm like, oh, yeah, well, that's because your only reference for an overweight white British man is James Corden. I'm doing what I can to redress the balance.
It's that Reddit fuckers again, isn't it?
One day, people are going to go, they're going to see a fat white guy on TV and go, oh, you look like Ethan Lawrence. And I'll be like, hell yeah.
Do you know what, Ethan? We're going to start doing that right now.
Great.
We'll just start doing
the movement starts here.
We're going to save your butchers. And we're going to start.
Let's erase James Corden from the cultural zeitgeist.
Let's do it.
We should do that anyway.
I mean, I've got to say, I am gutted that he's coming back to the UK, because I've been hoovering up all his parts.
Cameron Stacey called. It's just
America's gain was my gain also.
Still. Go on, Joe.
I was going to say, obviously, we've mentioned Ricky, so he's a man who has many different opinions of him. Personally, I think he's an absolute genius. But what was he like to work with?
Great. Brilliant. I mean, on the classic sort of morning magazine show when everyone's gathered in a really overlit studio on an uncomfortable sofa, anyone who's worked with or working with Gervais will relate the story of the fact that he likes to finish at 4:00, which is true. Your average shoot day will be cameras start rolling at 8 and cameras wrap at 7, but he does it at 4. Doesn't like to work past 4. If we're still working at 4:30, something's gone dreadfully wrong. And it gives the crew an opportunity to go home and see their families, because again, even though those are the work dates, they've got to be in before, because the cameras need to be rolling at 8, not we're getting the cameras in at 8. So there's a long neck and a long tail on these work days. So they're able to go and see their families. You know, we're able to decompress and concentrate more. I think it's a good way of working. The only way he's able to do that is by working efficiently and with economy of scale. And it helps then that he's sort of like, you know, the kind of the mastermind behind all sort of the main decisions on the thing, because he's the writer, the star, and the director. So he already knows what shots he wants. He already knows what setups he wants. He already knows what coverage he wants. He doesn't need to do anything else. There's no sort of butting heads with, like, you know, the creator and the director, because they're the same guy.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So that's really what it is. As a person, he's very friendly, very giving, very kind. You know, he's done wonders for my career. And the thing with any set or any workplace really is that the general tenor and mood of the workplace is set from the top and trickles down, right?
Yeah.
So, like, you know, if you've got an asshole boss, it's going to be a toxic atmosphere. Yeah, I think many people can probably relate to that. He is not toxic. He's lovely. He, you know, comes in with a chip in his step and, like, you know, that infectious laugh, and the fact that, you know, we're sort of here to, you know, we're here to create something, but, you know, this is also supposed to be fun. Like, you know, it's a creative, improvisational sort of outfit, and so, like, you know, we have the space to play, which is, you know, is important, especially in comedy, I think.
It's definitely got their boundaries. Again, it pushes the boundaries massively, Afterlife.
Well, yeah, and this again, I know I've said it before, but it's where I'm sort of like, oh, you can't joke about anything anymore, can't you? Because
I agree, you definitely can. You can joke about anything.
I'm reasonably certain he called a child the C word in episode 1.
Yes,
yeah.
he did. I've not laughed that hard in my life.
Yeah. And, like, you know, that's the final taboo, is it?
The 4 horsemen are coming.
That's it. The final boundary. We're done. You can't be mean to children.
Do you remember back in the day, the 90s, when kids shows, the Animals of Fatherhood is a great example. Well, animals died like every episode.
Don't talk about that.
Why?
I don't want to hear about the Animals of Fatherhood. Traumatizing.
But kids shows now are so watered down. What?
I disagree.
Okay. Fair.
Here's where I disagree, right? So I've worked on Horrible Histories, right?
Yeah.
Here are the 3 ingredients you need to make a perfect Horrible History sketch: shit, farts, racist European accent. That's all you need. And you're telling me that it's sanitized.
Well, because
in the most recent series that we did, there was a full sketch, which was just a bunch of people doing French accent shitting in a garden. I think the state of children's TV is fine.
In that case, I'm going to retract my. I've obviously, being a 35-year-old human, I've never seen Horrible Histories because obviously it's catered more on CBBC, etc. So
I think that's what it is. You know, not to sort of, you know, discourage or discredit you, but I think it's just because you might not have seen much children's TV programming recently.
Nope.
So you've taken the lead from people saying, "Oh, it's all water." It's bloody not, mate.
Good. Well, I'm glad. I'm bloody glad. I haven't got any kids of my own, so again, I still haven't seen anything like recent, if that makes sense. I've got like nephews and nieces and stuff, but
here's the thing: if you went on the iPlayer now and whacked on an episode from the most recent series, you will not be able to move for fart jokes.
Perfect. Well,
You'll
that's
be
what
fine.
I'm doing tonight. Yeah.
That's my be a laugh. The food one's quite good. I play a German war official in that one.
Oh, amazing. That's going straight on then.
Excellent.
Any German accent done by a British guy. Oh.
Again, like I said, that's one of the one wing of the trifecta that makes it perfect Horrible Histories. Yeah. Someone going, le France.
Yeah.
It's
beautiful, is it not?
Baguette. I did one where I had to play a Swedish inventor, Gustav something. Basically, he invented the plastic bag.
Okay.
And so he's like history's greatest monster. But like his whole thing was like, initially his intentions were pure, because he was like, the thing about making the bags out of plastic instead of paper is that they'll last longer and can be reused. At which point all the supermarkets were like, we'll have 1 billion of them, please. And he was like, okay, I'm sad, but I'm very rich, so I guess it's fine. And so I was thinking to myself, what am I going to do for like a Swedish accent? Because the only sort of cultural reference point I've got for a Swedish accent is it's ABBA or Swedish Chef, right? And like I can't very well go on the CBBC, educate, inform, entertain. I can't very well go on that going. But, I mean, I did.
Yeah.
And I'm ashamed of it, but I'm not talented enough to do the Swedish accent any sort of justice/dignity.
But it'd be weird if you went on going, knowing me, knowing you.
Even more weird.
Yeah.
Just sing the whole paragraph. Plastic bagger. Here we go again.
It is made of plastic.
Yes, I've been broken hearted, but I've made a bunch of money. Fuck you, all the polar bears.
Now they're charging 5p.
That was our mitigation for the worst, for the monster, the greatest monster in history.
Oh,
brilliant!
Take a beat.
I was going to say, no, I know. Is there a horrible histories about him?
About
the biggest monster in history.
So there have been ones about the Nazis. I don't know if there's been one specifically about Hitler himself. But like, you know, the Germans that we played were World War One
okay.
officials, which are, you know, are still pretty evil, to be fair, on the grand scheme of things.
Well, yeah.
But I know that there's been Nazi content done back in the day, and like, but you can't not really. It's like the most significant event of the last 100 years.
Oh yeah,
it would be dishonest, I think, not to do that. But like, you know, you can still sort of puncture it with humour.
I think you can
joke about
ridiculous.
anything. Even on kids' TV, you can go, "Oh, here's some of the mad stuff the Nazis did." Like, I mean, even in the case of this First World War sketch, it was specifically about how there was a ration on sausages in World War One Germany because they needed like the stomach lining of pigs to make zeppelins. Because like, you know, all these things were done. So like they were rationing sausages so that they could like butcher pigs to like make all these sorts of stuff. And the premise of the sketch was the guy going, so obviously there will be a ration on sausages, and like all the other officials going, what? I don't think that's a good idea. Like getting all this pushback and like, it's another way so that we can still have the sausages. We need some for the motherland.
Oh, that accent's amazing.
My German is a camp German. I don't know how to do another one. I tried sort of lowering the voice, but then it sort of went Russian. So it was like, you know, so it has to be up there. The little German boy up here. Because if I go deeper, it's suddenly Sergei. You know?
Yeah.
Vodka.
That show must be so hard to record, though. Surely you must piss yourself laughing so much.
So my big shock was turning up on day one. So this, I'll start from the sort of the back end to sort of give you a sort of sense of scale here. So on Afterlife, we generally shoot on average 5 to 7 pages a day.
Okay.
That's about standard for sitcom. You know, it means you can get decent coverage, you get everything nice and easy. I turn up on Horrible Histories day one, and we are set to do 17 and a half pages. And I was like, that's a typo, I reckon. And then I'm going through the slides, and I'm like, no, they are fully intending to shoot 5 sketches today.
Holy shit.
And they have 1 camera.
What?
And it's like, and so I was going into it like, I was shitting myself. I was like, how is this going to work? I don't understand how logistically we're going to have the time to do this. But we did it because we had to, because it's CBBC and there's no money. So, so we had to get it. And so we did. Like, necessity is the mother of invention. They have to do 5 sketches a day.
Wow.
And so, and instead of complaining about it, they just do it. Because they have to.
So if you laugh and you waste the take, you're dead.
I mean, to a degree, but I mean, to be honest with you, like when the pressure's on, stuff starts becoming less funny.
Yeah.
And so, like, you know, you're not laughing at it so much. And in addition to that, like, you know, when your back is properly up against the wall, you'll find that you can turn out a decent performance, and you have learnt your lines and you have remembered. There is a, you know, I would feel utterly embarrassed if I turned up on set and wasn't completely across my words for the day. Like, you know, that's part of my professionalism of what I'm bringing to the thing, in the same way that camera people bring all their tech and are ready and know what they're doing. And so do the sparks and the makeup team, hair and costume. They know exactly what they're doing. Like, I would expect the same sort of professionalism for me and the other actors that the others would as well, because at the end of the day, it's a collaborative process. And so, yeah, Horrible Histories is tricky but exhilarating, because you're going at like 500 miles an hour, and you could very well be playing multiple different characters from multiple different time periods in one day. I had one day where I think I went from a dying Middle Ages sailor to a Celt to a Roman, all in one day, which all required full costume changes, wigs, and facial hair changing over. I stank of spirit gum for like the next week.
Oh,
it was the height of summer as well.
Oh no. Yummy.
I bet you must actually learn quite a few things doing that show as well, to be fair.
There were lots of things I didn't know, like the German sausage ration thing.
Yeah, I was like, when you said that a minute ago, I was like, really?
I was like, that's brilliant. I didn't know that.
How did they lose?
And like, you know, 9 series in, they're still finding stuff that like hasn't been already used in the previous series. And it's great. It's a real gem of British television. I really do believe that. I mean, the awards it's won speak for itself. You know, it's one of the most decorated shows I think there's ever been.
I've heard nothing but amazing things about it from kids and parents who absolutely love that show.
No, that is one of its beauties. I think because it is so riven with shit and farts, like the parents can enjoy it as well. You know, it's because in addition, like, you know, when I did that, I was 28 years old and I was learning stuff. And I have no doubt when I go back to do more, I'll find out even more crazy stuff.
I love it. It's amazing.
Aren't they axing CBBC?
There's talk of doing it in 2025, but let's be honest, the current government is on fire. So
it might. Yes, come on.
We might not even have the same prime minister tomorrow. So let's maybe park CBBC for now.
Yeah.
Let's hope it doesn't end like your butchers. May it long may it live.
Here's my thing ultimately with regards to that. It's sort of 2 things. Number one, people say a lot of things are going to happen and then they subsequently don't happen. And number 2, I still think ultimately there will be a space for CBBC programming, even if they don't have a CBBC channel.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you could put it in the afternoon slot on BBC 2. And like, you know, some people will be like, oh, but Home's Under the Hammer. And it'll be like, you'll be fine.
Yeah. No one needs that in their life anymore anyway.
Anyway, what are you doing home watching TV at 3:30 in the afternoon anyway?
Good point. It's a very good point. One thing I absolutely love about you as a performer is you're not afraid to just laugh at your own expense. You know, whether that be getting a ridiculous bowl cut, sticking recorders up your nose, you know, doing ridiculous accents or whatever. Where does that come from? Just that ability to just laugh at yourself.
I gave up my dignity a long time ago. Is the sort of amusing answer. The actual answer is that ever since I discovered that I'm funny, I dedicate myself entirely to chasing the gag. Like, to me, there's nothing better than getting a laugh. Because it shows a sort of shared understanding of the people that you're with. It shows that you've got, you know, your head's not jumbled, you've got your head screwed on right because you know what you're doing. And, you know, okay, this is going to sound pity me, and it's really not. Given that I'm the shape that I am naturally physically funny to look at doing stupid shit. Like, you know, take for example Afterlife. It wouldn't be nearly as funny if I was discovered naked in a bath if I wasn't fat, right? Because that sort of adds a sort of extra dimension of it being quite amusing. It's like, he is also a rotund man. which is...
I hate to agree, but I know what you mean. Like TV tropes.
The thing is, these tropes are tropes for a reason. And like, I do hope one day to sort of be sort of like the vanguard of where like a character can be fat in a comedy show and that not be their whole thing.
Yeah.
And we'll get there, but like ultimately this sort of stuff is funny. And like I'm happy to be the butt of the joke because at the end of the day it's a joke and it'll get a laugh. And ultimately, that's all I really care about. Like, my job is to facilitate the words of the writer and the whims of the director, put it through, well, turn it into light and then turn it into bites on digital and then turn that into laughs. Ultimately, that's my job. And it would be, I guess sort of highfalutin of me and very sort of arrogant to go, well, no, I'm not. I shall not make a mockery of myself. It's like, well, you are. And let's be honest, you were making a mockery of yourself when you wore your little hat when you were doing pizza delivery. That if anything was more undignified than you jumping off a diving board in Budgie Smugglers. That was more undignified for you. Because hats don't suit me. I've got a head like a loaf of wet bread. They just don't sit properly. It's bad.
I mean, the one in TikTok video looks all right.
It sort of doesn't fit, like it doesn't pull all the way down, so it's sort of sat on top of my head, so it's perched like a seagull on a post, But the thing is, your eye isn't drawn to that because I'm doing that funny voice, so it's fine.
It was great. It was so great.
So before we start,
we now have to include the cold open now, don't we? Because we talked about that in the cold open.
Oh, it's been included. It's too funny.
Brilliant.
It's been included. It's been included. It has to be. So before we start wrapping up, can you tell us about anything that you're working on at the moment or in the near future, anything that you can talk about?
So a couple of things that I've done this year are now currently in post. I'm not at liberty to talk about them yet. But if people follow me on socials, as soon as I can, I will. I've always been about that life. We've got Horrible Histories coming up. That's going to take me through till Christmas, which is an excellent problem to have.
Amazing.
And then after that, I mean, sky's the limit. Once you tie down yourself to sort of like a 5-month project, it's sort of difficult to see the other end of it. Because I'm going to be deep in that thing, and by the time we get to Christmas anyway, most of the things will have wrapped up in any case, and so January will be audition season again, and we just start where we were at the beginning. But yeah, so things are looking good. I mean, like I say, a 5-month contract is a really, really good problem to have.
First ticket to Christmas as well. It's perfect.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sure, I'm going to be tied down for a bit, but that's fine. That's I can still find other stuff to do, and besides which, I'll be doing Horrible Histories, which is a bright laugh. So easy.
You're busy. You're doing what you love, and you're getting paid to do it. Job done.
Job done. And then 2023, we'll see. Hopefully, some of the things that I've done earlier in the year will be starting to fruit and flower, and we'll see what the results of that are moving forward. And I mean, it's all about just maintaining the momentum, really. Just keeping myself in the public eye, keeping myself doing my good acting, and hopefully I'll still be allowed to do it, and I won't have to go back to driving around the Greater Dengie area giving people pepperoni slice.
Well, you could always be a wrestling manager. Did you find a company yet?
No one reached out. I think people are frightened of my raw magnetism and charisma.
I mean, I would be, to be fair, but
I think if anything, I'd be too good as a wrestling manager.
I want to see it.
People would be like, "Oh, we're coming to watch the wrestling," but like this guy's just cut like a tight half-hour promo on the main event.
You would get your guy over every time. You're like the Paul Heyman of
this
like
was
indie
my
wrestling.
Thinking. I think I'd make a great advocate, but also sort of like I reckon I could run a good roast on the prima face.
Oh,
I mean, genuinely, I love wrestling. I really, really do. And, it's something at the back of my head because I know I'm never going to be a wrestler. There's no way. I haven't been training. I don't have the skills. But I know how to take a bump because I do all my own stunts. And one of the other things that I know is I'm a talker. I'm good on the stick.
I love it.
I mean, we're just on a whole, hour and 20 minutes. And I've basically not stopped talking.
It's great.
For 80 minutes.
We interviewed Doug Williams. We need to get them together. We interviewed Doug Williams. Let's get you with him. Go
That'll be fun.
Manage Doug Williams. That'd be incredible.
Put me in touch. I'm more than happy. I'll be his greatest advocate. All of these opponents better worry, because just before they get beaten in the ring by Doug, they're going to have to deal with me calling them a rat skank, and they'll hate.
Phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal.
So before we just start wrapping up, I was looking at, do you have any personal highlights from your career so far? Moments that stand out, whether it be filming a scene, a moment off camera, whatever that might be, just those real joyous, reflective moments.
It's going to sound glib, it really does, but I find it difficult to separate out individual moments, sort of pouring it through a sieve, because I'm so blessed to do what I do, and so I'm not good at waking up, right? I'm not an early riser. If left to my own devices, I will eventually just gravitate to Dracula time and just be waking up at 6 PM.
Dude.
Going to bed at 4. That's sort of my natural state. But when I'm working on a job and it requires you to get up, I don't find myself struggling. I spring out of bed and ready to go. I love my work. I love what I do. And so sort of, it almost feels like it's almost cheapening it to sort of draw out individual moments, because the last 10 years have been, apart from 1 year where I did pizza delivery, the last 10 years have been so good to me that I wouldn't want to single anything out, because just as an experience as a whole, it's just been magnificent, and I'm so lucky to be able to do what I do. Again, I'm getting sincere, but that's because I think we've been laughing and we've been joking around, but I genuinely love my job so much, and I don't know what I would do without it, and I can only do it with people who believe in me and watch my stuff. So thanks.
And here's to the next 10 years.
It's in the next 10 years. Then we'll see where we're at when I'm about to turn 40. We'll do a follow-up pod.
Let's do it.
Yes.
I'll be I've been doing pizza delivery for 8 years. I got there in the end.
Mr. Stevens, do you have any more questions for us?
Yes, I do. I have one more, Mr. Lawrence.
The way you said that made it sound like you had a lot.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Well,
yes, I do have questions, actually. Just, there we go. Where were you on the night of the...
When you first started out telling your mum that you were going to be an actor, did you ever think that this is where you'd be today?
I had faith that I could get there. I think largely out of childhood naivety, I think one of the things that I've always been conscious of, and if you've seen my Twitter and you've seen my TikToks, you'll know this. I don't pretend that this job is easy, and I don't lie to people when they say, "Oh, I want to make it in the industry. What are the sort of steps I could do?" My answer is always, "I don't know. This industry's mad. I got into it through pure luck. So be lucky, I guess." I don't know what else to say, because there's an old thing they say that I can't give advice. I can only give anecdote, because I know how I did it, but I don't know how other people would. So, so that's sort of the thing. I try to be honest about this job, because I think it's so easy to sort of get swept up. Especially as a kid, I thought it would be easy. And doing it now, I realize that it's not. And I've basically been doing this job on easy mode. Because, I got into this, relatively young, and, I've worked fairly consistently for a decade, more so than a lot do. So I've been doing this whole thing on easy mode, and even I find it tough. So one of the things, I don't know if I knew I would be able to make it as a kid, because I had the faith that I had the skill, but I had no idea of the reality of what was coming. And I think I may have felt differently about it if I did. It's tricky, isn't it, doing in those hypotheticals, because it's and I know it was sort of almost sort of like a, would your childhood self be proud of you now? But actually thinking about it on those terms, I'm sort of he'd definitely be proud, but I don't know if he'd be happy with what acting is actually like. I think he was expecting it to be red carpets and I'll be in my trailer. Where it's more sort of you spend a day dressing up as a Celt and a Roman and a dying sailor, and you smell a spirit gun for a week.
That sounds so much better than sitting in a trailer with red cat. Do you know what I mean? I'd rather.
Does it?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'd rather not have my feet up with a whiskey. I'd much rather be at the coalface sweating to death under this moustache.
Yeah, but surely if you were sat in a trailer with a whiskey, you'd be sat there probably for hours waiting just to do something rather than...
you get that as well. Don't get me wrong, that also happens. It's just there's no whiskey and you've got an uncomfortable moustache.
Oh, okay. And
It's just to sit around dressed up as a kelp. Yeah,
that's it.
In
I
that
had to
case-
get in a toga early on one day because I had a scene. I wasn't in the first scene, I was in the second scene of the day. But I was then in there early, and so I get dressed up in a toga and like this curly blonde wig to be a Roman. And I'm sat there for like 2 hours in the trailer, just reading my Kindle with this toga on, looking like an absolute prat. And I'm like, I can't even go walking around because like our unit base at that point was in like the car park of a mini golf place, and so like I can't go out because like people playing mini golf are going to see me running around like a like a little Roman. And they're going to be like, oh, what's this? Something that's probably for charity or something.
Them university kids are at it again.
Oh, Christ, it's ragweek.
Yeah.
Oh,
They've come here to the A1.
Yeah. I have to change, lads. I have to change. Oh, Ethan, this has been just phenomenal. Absolutely
I'm
phenomenal.
pleased. I really am. Thank you so much for having me. I had a suspicion this was going to be a laugh, and I'm glad it was.
it was amazing.
Oh, well, I'm pleased you had that suspicion. Like, I want to thank the guy that sent us to you. One of our listeners, whoever that was. Thank you so much.
Same thing happened yesterday. I was because I made sure in the tweet to say not just like if you have a podcast, get in contact, but if you like a podcast and would like to hear me on it, like let them know, because I listen to a lot of podcasts, but it's impossible to know every podcast that exists.
Yes,
there's like millions of them.
Yeah.
And so like, I need people to sort of like connect me to things that I haven't heard so that I can, broaden not only my own horizons in my listening, but also to like, find other avenues to come on and shout about myself for an hour and a half.
Listen to while you're dressed as a Roman on set. Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah.
You guys have got no one else has got that Roman story. I think that's a Chronicles of scoop.
Yes. But Ethan, before we let you go, we like to play a little game with our guests. We haven't done this for a little while, actually. I realised earlier on we haven't done this for a little while. It's called the quick fire round. We literally ask you 5 questions and you answer them as quick as you can. It's as simple as that. And you're going to know the answers because they're all about you.
Okay.
Nice and simple.
This is where we find out that I'm not really across my own.
Well, nice and simple. On the first one, what's your favourite pizza topping?
Hawaiian.
No.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
We can get back to this if it's going to be an argument because I'm ready to defend myself.
No?
With sticks if necessary.
So now the sticks are involved, I'm backing up. No. Favourite breakfast cereal? They're not all food related.
Christ. Frosties. I don't know. I don't eat cereal.
Do you not?
No.
Well, why'd you give an answer then if you don't eat it?
Because I felt you were owed an answer. I didn't feel
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I mean, to be honest with you, Frosties isn't even right. It's probably Rice Krispies or something, but I can't remember the last time I had cereal.
Cereal is just magical. If I could eat it for the rest of my life, I would.
Like I said, though, I'm rarely awake before noon, right?
Oh, of course.
And even if I'm at a job, I find that to get my brain in gear, I don't need cereal. I need like a fruit. I need like an apple or a banana or something. Because like it's slow release and like because you never know when your next meal's going to be because lunch could be pushed back because someone screwed up on something. So I'm like, I need a banana and a satsuma and I'm away.
There we are. Yeah, perfect.
What was your first ever concert that you went to?
Oh, that's a very good question. Do you know it might have been the V Festival, 2006.
I remember that.
Yeah, because I don't live far from Chelmsford, which is one of the Highlands Park was one of its venues. I think the other one was in Stafford, I think. So yeah, it was probably that now that I think of it. And I wish I could remember who was performing. That's irrelevant. Probably the first sort of solo gig that I went to was Kasabian.
That's some strong gigs there, though.
I've seen Kasabian quite a few times, actually. But this would have been during the Empire album, Shoot the Runner, all that sort of stuff. I think they're up there. So I think in terms of sort of like I've seen Kasabian 5 times. I've seen the Proclaimers 5 times.
Yeah, amazing.
And I've seen Avenged Sevenfold 3 times.
What a mix!
That's fun. You gotta have an eclectic taste, though. I love that.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, most of those Kasabian Proclaimer ones are from the V Festival, so I went like 4 years on the bounce.
Oh, they
play every year.
I just sort of did on my own.
It counts. I've seen Metallica 5 times. Never been to a solo gig. It's always been at festivals.
There you go. You see. I mean, the Proclaimers are up that high for that exact reason, because they're always a bloody V. They'd do anything. I didn't even know them that well, but by the end of it, I'm there like, letter from take a look. It's great hearing a whole bunch of Essex people attempt a Scottish accent. It's brutal.
If you were to get a tattoo to commemorate your career, what would it be?
Ooh,
that was a great noise.
It would be one of the alien symbols from How to Talk to Girls at Parties, because it's discreet, and if you look at it, you'd have to ask about it.
Oh,
nice.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'd be like, well, actually, from this film out, was it? Quite an interesting concept. You probably haven't seen it. It was kind of underground. So, yeah, that's probably what I'd go for. Because otherwise, what's it going to be? It'd be like a kid with a bowl cut. I don't think that's
just a recorder.
Bad haircut.
Last but not least, if you were to get into a time machine, go back in time and find young Mr. Ethan, what piece of advice would you give him?
Keep going as you're going. It's all going to be all right. Don't drink as much when you're at uni. You were like a problem. Like it was an issue. And sleep more.
Not you had a problem, you were a problem.
Right, I should probably contextualize that. So part of the issue is that I'm a bit of a workaholic. A lot of people who know me know that when I start on a job, I become like absolutely myopic and narrow-minded, and you can't deviate me from the course. In the 3rd year of university, I had my agent now, so I was regularly getting professional acting gigs. I was also doing the 3rd year of my degree. I was also president of the Improv Comedy Society. I directed a musical and one of my own plays. And I did all of that in the space of 1 academic year. And I was drunk for all of it. So,
wow, dude, that's nuts. That's
I
awesome.
don't know how I survived being 21.
Damn.
I slowed down after that. Once university finished, I was like, right, I don't think my body has what it takes to do that again.
Big respect though. That's serious though. That's incredible that you managed.
I got 2-1.
Yeah,
2-1.
That's huge.
That's insane. I love it.
And Bad Education Series 3, I was bald for that one.
Yes, you were.
That helped. That helped a lot. Me just swanning around Royal Holloway University of London with a beer in a brown paper bag. Yeah, I'm going to a lecture. What of it? Hamlet dicked on him, mate. You want to talk gender politics in Shakespeare? I got that for you. Yeah, I'll tell you. Right, bloody Juliet. Right. What's that all about? And that was my university experience. They gave me a 2-1 for such insightful commentary on Shakespeare's oeuvre.
Oh, Ethan, this has been so much fun.
Right.
I laughed.
Jamie, you look like you're in physical pain. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, it's in the best way. Before we let you go, any plugs, social medias you want people to go check out?
Bad Education and Afterlife on Netflix. Find them where you can. Horrible Histories on iPlayer. If you want to find me personally, I'm at Ethan D. Lawrence on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Support the TikTok because I'm quickly growing sick of it because I'm just not getting the numbers that I feel like I deserve. So make me feel better about myself. Follow my Instagram for nothing. I barely post anything. And follow my Twitter for going ha 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 every time someone from Boris Johnson's cabinet resigns, which has been today at the final count, I believe, 38 times.
Incredible.
So,
that's nuts.
Wow.
So well done to him for breaking yet another record.
Yeah.
What a legacy. What a legacy. Ethan, my friend, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. It's been phenomenal, and we'll definitely have to do a round 2.
Definitely.
Thank you so much for having me. Honestly, thank you for reaching out. This was what it was all about. Getting to meet new people and talk stuff and have a laugh. So thank you very much for having me and reaching out. I hope this video does well for you. I appreciate it. Well, it's going to be out in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
okay, something like that. We'll let you know. We'll let you know anyway, because obviously, we've got each other on socials now, so we can exactly perfect. We'll retweet each other. It'll be amazing. Yeah, love it. Excited. Synergy, SEO.
Incredible. Good luck with Horrible Histories filming, and
thank you.
Incredible.
Have a great evening, my friend. Take it easy.
Take it easy. Look after yourself. Cheers. Thanks.
You too. Bye bye.
Phenomenal. So bloody funny.
It's great. It's just great, isn't it? It's just great.
It's so many highlights. It's just his impression of a drunk student in university. He just
I have to say the German accent was definitely a highlight.
Oh yes. And I realised watching this back, towards the start of it, I said he was a child actor, and he was like, "No, I didn't." I started imagining. What I was trying to say is he started to learn acting as a child, and I sort of didn't correct myself. I was like, "Why didn't you correct yourself, you dopey twat?" So I'm correcting myself now. Okay.
There are quite a few moments in some of the interviews where that's happened.
Yeah, and also, Ethan, if you're listening, my neck's okay now. Don't worry, it's fine.
We hope you guys enjoyed listening to it as much as really recording it. Ethan, thank you so much again. It was a genuine pleasure, and I'm excited for people to get their ears on this bad boy.
Oh, yes.
That's right, folks, and we're proud to say that we are now sponsoring the Chronicles of Podcast. Ouch. Hosted by Tom and Jamie.
Like, you can get 10% off, man! That's right, Shaggy! Just use the special code, The Chronicles, at checkout.
Oh, boy!